Hi there, and welcome to FEH BOCES Community Art Night. I'm Carol Marie Bossler. Oh, I was afraid that. Good evening. I'm Carol Marie Vossler, and welcome to Community Art Night presented by FEH BOCES. That's Franklin, Essex, and Hamilton County BOCES. I'm Carol Marie again from Lunar Horizons, and I'm also presenting through Blue Seed Studios. We are recording tonight, a bit different than how we've been doing it. This is project 3. It's called Into the Fold. And what we'll be learning tonight is how to make a soft covered, non-adhesive accordion book. Now there is some adhesive. We use one piece of tape, but that's okay. I'm going to show you this. And we're using just copy paper tonight, although I will be demonstrating a bit on, this is nicer paper, decorative paper. I use thin drawing paper, archival art paper. And, but you don't want to start with the more expensive paper right away. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about books quickly. This, as I said, is a soft covered. This one is a hard covered accordion book that I made. It's hard covered. And it does require gluing and sheets and with a cloth covering. There's all different ways to make a book. Here's a hardcover book with, this is called a stab stitch, and it has a decorative artistic element with this wooden piece of block on adhered to the spine. And this is a hardcover. This was made with different printmaking techniques, and it's bound again with the stab stitch. This is just a traditional book. I like this one. It's how to make books, but books are basically bound in many different ways. And once you learn the basics, as you will learn some basics tonight, you can take it to all different levels. This is an open spine, or this was a closed spine with a Coptic stitch. Again, a hard cover, but you can see all the different kinds of fun things you can do. So how I'm going to work this evening is I'm going to demonstrate how to create the our project for the evening, this accordion fold book with special folded. This is kind of the tricky part of the evening, is making these covers which fold into each other and lock, and then you create, you put it back in like this. So like I said, it's a bit tricky, but you'll open this up and then you put the end inside there, which I will show. And I'll demonstrate also on this piece, which is more finished piece here, which I just showed a little earlier, with contrasting paper and paper, so that cover paper, so that you'll be able to see how to do it. So let's get started. Tonight we're just using copy paper. And I have a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm going to use that at the end to review this project. Since this is being recorded, please take your time, hit pause, rewind. I will go as slow as I can, but not too slow, so that we're not here too long. So again, this is just copy paper, perfect for practicing. And I always practice. Whenever I create a new book, I practice. So when you fold your paper, you want to, first thing is to make sure that your edges are nice and even, your corners match up. And with again, with this light paper, it's easier to start. This is called the bone folder. I apologize. I forgot to go over the materials that we'll be using tonight. So we have our copy paper. You'll need a metal ruler or a straight edge. A wooden ruler works, but a straight edge, this works best. I have a bone folder to use for folding, but with the copy paper, you can just use your finger, but I wanted to show this. I do have a pair of scissors. I will only need it to cut the tape. I have an X-Acto blade, but I won't be needing that tonight. I need a little piece of tape. You'd need a pencil. And when you get started later, you may want to redo this piece with some nice decorative paper that you can buy at Michael's. Again, this is archival paper, meaning that it's plant-based. It's not from the tree, it's from a cellulose, and it's non-acidic. Okay, let me take off from where I started before. Now that paper has grain. Again, with this copy paper, you don't have to worry so much about the grain. And with this type, but in lots of book art projects, I gotta make sure you can see this okay, not be in the shadow. With different types of books, you have to be very aware of the grain, the way the grain is running in the paper. Now, when I'm ripping this, I'm pulling into the ruler. All in one pull. Notice my fingers walk down the ruler and get a nice edge. This is called the decal edge now. So now I did a vertical tear. You can do horizontal. The reason I did vertical was so that I could have my sheet is longer. Again, I don't have to worry too much about the grain with this practice piece. I can talk about grain later if we have time. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this vertical sheet in half. Again, watching the corners, okay? Watch your corners that they match up. And then with my bone folder, I start in the middle of the page and you go towards the out. Now you don't need a bone folder for the practice book because it's so thin. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that with my second piece. Now this is where you may want to stop the video and do this part. Okay, the next thing we do is we open up our pieces. You have two pieces that look like this now. And you're going to take the creases. You're going to fold halfway, middle, out, middle, out. Okay. Going to do it again on this side. Watching that the edges are all even, middle to out. Now, you have this. It's more of a diamond shape. We don't want a diamond shape. We need an M shape. So now I flipped it over and I'm going to flip, and again, watching those edges here, here, and here. And this is where you could take a popsicle stick, a plastic knife. I'm going to use my bone folder. You can use your finger again, but I got a nice crisp edge. And now I have the letter M, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to repeat it again on this piece. Middle to end. Watching my edges. middle to end, and then flip over and fold. Okay, if you need to, I recommend stopping the video and getting this part done. Okay, next, what we do is we have to tape this together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of weight these two pieces down, and I'm going to bring them together like this. See that? I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to make it a little longer. And if you want, you can just do two. I'm going to do a shorter piece first, down. And then I'm going to make a longer piece. And because you want to make sure that you get the tops, and the head and the tail, as it's called in a book, a head and the tail. Or else there'll be a gap. Now you can see the tape. Stick this up. You might be able to see the tape sticking up there. You can just fold that over, which I'll just do that. If you have scissors, you can cut this with scissors. Now I have this, and I need to fold that crease. So this is why I double up on the tape, because again, you're creasing it. Notice how my folds are nice and even. You see how it's still a little bouncy? So right now I don't want it too bouncy. So I'm going to take my bone folder, my popsicle stick or whatever. I could use my finger again and go over the creases and the folds. And you want to get it nice and tight. Okay. You should have nice one long accordion fold. This is now your accordion fold. In book art lingo, you just made your text block, sorry. This is the middle part of the book. We still don't know which one will be the head or the tail, or depending on how it ends up. We have our end sheets. Can show better in this. Our end sheets here, which will the cover sheet will tuck into these end sheets. Good example of an end sheet in a regular book. This is a pasted down end sheet, and this is the loose. And there's always, usually in a traditional book or any book, really, to have like a cover sheet, this end sheet that covers the original title page. You'll find that in many books, many art books. Okay, next we have to make our covers. So this might be a good time for you to pause the video if you need to and catch up on making your accordion fold. All right. Next comes the end sheets, and they're a little tricky. The end cover sheets. You're going to have two sheets. You're going to make two sheets, pieces. Actually, you're going to make 4 of these. One is vertical with horizontal flaps, and the other is a little wider with vertical flaps. And what they do is they pair up, and you insert the flaps and they lock together. So let me show you how to make that. You can use a ruler and measure. Okay, and no. So the trick is the portion of the cover that has the vertical flaps is the width the inside dimension of your accordion fold, plus a 3/4 of an inch to a 1 inch vertical flap. So what you're going to do is you're going to rip your paper like we did earlier for the accordion fold. And if you don't have a ruler, you just don't like measuring, you can take your accordion fold, and since you know that it has to be the exact height, right? We're making this piece. I'm sure you can see that. And that we want it to be about 3/4 approximately. This is good for estimation. You can use your ruler and measure 1 inch, 1 inch, and then mark with your pencil. Okay. Take that away. And I will make sure it's square. Should make 2 marks. I'm using the line. Yes, the paper. So this again now is going to be end cover number 1. You can even write it on here, it might help you. End cover 1. And you know that you want your flaps to be vertical, 1 inch in. So you can measure your 1 inch and your 1 inch, so you know that you're making, and to bend that fold with this copy paper, it's really easy. You can do that, or you can just put this here to make sure that it's all nice and tight here, there, and then find this crease. I found that crease, and now I'm going to fold. To make sure this part has to be pretty exact, making sure that it's the same, because it slips in there. It can actually be a tad larger, so you can slip your end sheet of the accordion fold into the piece. Okay, so I made end cover 1. Now the next one, its partner. Get back up here. Okay, so this was here, here. It's the same height. Okay, with 3/4 to 1 inch flaps. Because of, again, this copy paper, you can be a little more flexible with your manipulating, but when it comes to the fancy paper, you have to be a little more exact, and I highly recommend using a scoring tool to score your folds. Now I have to make its partner, this one. So this one is skinny and tall. This one kind of squattier. And so these are the 2 pieces you're going to make. You have to make 2 more of these for the other end. So you're making 2 pair. Okay, so for this one, it's sort of the same thing. Now don't, make sure that you don't see how this is narrow. I'm like, oh, well, I want to use this one because I don't want to waste paper. Well, if your tabs are too narrow, they'll slip out when you're putting the accordion fold into the end covers, and that's not fun. So make sure, see how when I fold it over, that's only about a 1/2 inch. So this piece isn't any good. This piece has a rip in it, but I still might be able to get away with it. Yeah, I can, because this rip is here and I care about the height. So when I put it up like this, I can see that I have enough for my flaps. So what I'm going to do is, instead of measuring, I'm going to use my straight edge. I might give it a little more room, and I'm going to, could score. If I score, then I know I have a nice crease there. I'm going to rip this. Hopefully it'll cooperate up against the edge of my book. Okay, now I have cover one. Oh, I got a little nasty at there, but that's all right because it's just our practice sheet. And now I want to make sure that this is equal. These are going to fit into each other. Okay. Now this is just to measure get my flaps folded without, this is kind of how I do it. You'll come up with different, you can use your ruler again and measure and fold. And with the heavier paper, again, with the decorative paper, that's how you're going to do it. So let me do it that way. This was my decorative paper, which I'm going to show you next. I'm just going to fold this over. Fold this over. I have my two. I want to give a shout out to Professor Diane Fine at Plattsburgh State. She's the one that showed me how to do this in a workshop. And now what you do is you have your vertical and horizontal folds. They face each other, folds face each other. One goes in. The other one, the second one might be a little trickier. And you got to tuck it in there. You have to wrestle it a little bit. It'll go in there. Ta-da. Okay, now, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to reinforce these creases. So I'm going to take my finger, my bone folder, because it's copied. I'm going to do this. Okay. You have to do this one more time. It looks like this when it's finished. And see, because I have wide enough flaps, it's not pulling out. If your flaps are too narrow, they'll pull out. Okay, this might be a good time for you to pause the video and make your second one. In the meantime, I'm going to show you, I'm going to use the decorative paper and make an end piece, cover end piece for this fancy accordion fold. Again, I made this practice one before I even tried to go to this level. And I thought it might be easier to show you using contrasting paper. So before the video started, I made this piece. Made my vertical, my tall, thin piece. And I made sure I had wide enough flaps, and I can even sort of, this paper is very thin, so I can use my fingers as well. I have this. Here I got a different color piece for my, so I have two different colors for my end sheets. I recommend that when doing this project, just because you can tell the difference between the two when you're making it, and also it just adds nice interest to your project. So I am folding this up, and I got the for this, I had to get my height correct. Everything, the height is always the same for both pieces. What's different is your flaps. One goes higher and horizontal flaps, one goes wider, vertical flaps. So I measured out my flaps. Light is changing in here. See my measurements. And now, because this is fancy paper, I did measure. This was 3 inches, I believe, 3.5. So I made this 5.5. And it's 6 inches wide, long. The height is 6 inches. So I made my width 5.5 or a little more. And then again, I'm just going to tear. Tear again. Okay, so this is my piece. Now I have this extra piece, but it's not big enough to make a second one. So I'm not going to force it. With this one, I was able to get 2 sheets out of my decorative paper, but not so for this. So no big deal. Make sure you're folding the right edges. I'm going to mark it. Actually, I should have done this a little better. I made 2 pencil marks. I'm just, because the paper's thin, I can use my ruler and just bend the paper over and fold it. Okay, I'm going to make sure that it's a nice fold, that the edges all meet up. And I'm going to use my bone folder to get it nice and crisp. I'm going to take this piece that I folded just a little bit earlier, and I'm going to set it in there to make sure that it's the right, that these are all going to fit together and that my folds are good, right. So I can just do that. I can take a pencil and sort of mark it with a pencil, or I can just come up and kind of get my crease mark, and then I can take my ruler and fold it. I'm going to, up here, I'm going to mirror the covers. Tuck them in. And again, this is takes a little patience because it doesn't always want to go in. But if your flaps are long enough and your width is right, it should fit together. There we go. Okay. So this is the cover, the end cover sheet. Again, what I like to do is I like to go over my folds. Got to be careful with your bone folder or when you're going over decorative paper. I could have made marks. So many times, depending on the paper, I'll use a piece of wax paper to put over this to protect the surface. The next thing I do is, whoopsie daisy again. So here, this opens up. And I decide which side I want, inside or outside. And I put the cover on. crayon. See, it's being pain. There we go. Hope it got caught in there. A little tight. There we go. There. Now I have, it doesn't really match my book, but this is a demo piece, so it's okay. This was just another added element that you can put on your accordion book when you start to get the hang of it and get a little more creative. But just start out simple. Okay, so here we are. You should have made both pieces now. Your front cover and your back cover. Mine is somewhere. Here we go. And again, you put it in. You just insert the end sheath of your accordion fold into, and this is your piece, your practice piece. Again, make sure everything's nice and even. Get it all bundled up nice and even. And you can finish rubbing it. Now you have your into the fold. Okay, now, although this doesn't look like a traditional book that we're used to seeing, it still has the same parts. It has a spine, it has a head and a tail, it has end sheets, it has cover sheets, and it has a text block. Traditional names that get carried through to the non-traditional or traditional styles. This book is falling apart a little bit, but okay, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go through the PowerPoint that I just that I made for this project. And see if I forgot anything. Here it is. Let's see right here. Okay. Again, go to here. I want to thank FEH BOCES, Franklin, Essex, Hamilton BOCES for hosting Creative Art Night, Project 3, Into the Fold. This was a soft cover, Western style accordion fold book presented by myself, Carol Marie Vossler of Lunar Horizons and Blue Seed Studios in Saranac Lake. Just quickly, this is a wonderful art integration. It incorporates math, science, reading, all sorts of wonderful core content areas. And in this photo, I'm just showing you a variety of decorative papers that you could use, and also this adhesive here to the upper right-hand corner in case you like to use glue. I added in some fun questions, how about some essential questions? Why make a book when you can purchase one? Does making art with your hands matter now that we can download digital books? And then the anatomy of traditional hardcover book. And as you can see, we had some of the same. Our text block was our book signature. We had end papers, we had a cover, we had a spine. This has a lot more elements, but depending on the type of book you make, you may incorporate all of these elements. And here is what an accordion fold is. It's similar to the Z fold, but it has more than one fold, and it forms the letter M. This was an accordion book by an artist named Natalie Quinzar. And you can see the reason I showed you this, the versatility of this. You can draw on it, make your own marks. You can use digital computer prints, so on. Here's our basic materials that we needed tonight. a ruler or a straight edge. We had 4 8.5 sheets of paper, tape, bone folder, popsicle stick, or plastic knife, or our finger in this case. And remember, I mentioned that this project was meant to introduce you to a non-adhesive, although we did use a bit of tape, accordion book. And it's a model for you to hopefully create more amazing books. We began by folding, taking 2 sheets of paper, folding, matching the corners, going from the middle, fold from the middle to the outer edge. Once the paper was opened up, you had a crease, and we ripped the paper in half using, I used a metal ruler, which was really good. Remember, you hold it and you pull towards yourself, little at a time. Again, I'm showing here scoring. If your paper is heavier, you want to score, because when your paper is a little heavier or thicker, if you just fold, you'll crush the fiber and it'll make a crinkled spine or fold, and that's not very appealing. Here I found the picture to the right. I just found the center, and I started in the middle and moved towards the edge. Now from there, you'll have 2 pieces of paper folded in half, and then to make the M accordion shape, we folded one edge into the crease and then the other edge into the crease, making sure that the edges were square. And then we flipped the paper over, because otherwise it looked like a diamond. So you flipped it over and you back folded, so you get this M shape. Then we taped it together, being careful to tape the very top of the edge on the right. Don't leave this top part, or the tail or the head of the book, of the accordion fold, open, or it could rip. And I double taped it. I reinforced it twice. You can see at the right, I went past the length of the text block, so that, and then I cut or folded the tape over to make sure that I didn't have a gap. And this is what you should end up with. Congratulations, you made your first accordion fold. And now we move to the end covers. Again, you fold and tear your sheet like we did in the beginning. And then we're making 4 pieces. Our end covers are 4 pieces that pair together so they interlock. And you take 2 sheets of paper, make sure they are the inside dimensions of your accordion fold. I did not put specific heights or widths in this, because you may change. Everyone might have a different sheet of paper. But the important thing is that your inside dimensions of your end cover sheets match the accordion fold dimensions. That's important. And it's important that all your edges are even when you're measuring or folding. Then to make the tabs for the end covers, the cover on the left is taller than that on the right. It has the correct inside dimensions plus 2 1-inch tabs, and the tabs fold horizontally. The cover on the right is shorter than the one on the left. It is wider. It has the correct inside dimensions plus 2 1-inch tabs on the sides. The tabs fold vertically. The tabs should not be less than 3/4 of an inch, otherwise they can slip apart. And then you join them together. You face the folds together, and then tuck the horizontal folds into the vertical folds, and be patient. And the two pieces are now one, so you have two pairs instead of four individual pieces of paper. Then you insert the accordion fold into the cover sheets. So the picture on the left shows what you should have. Two end covers, your accordion fold, and then you slide it in. And voila, finishing. Your accordion book should all fit together. Close the assembled book and fold the edges again. Run your finger or your bone folder over the edges. You're finished. So very cool. This was really fun. I hope I was clear enough and organized enough for you to not have to struggle too much, but it's okay if you had to struggle a little bit. It's good. It's very good. Think about and reflect on your success. By doing this, you did something really amazing and you should be very proud. How did you feel? Ask yourself, was there some difficulty? Were you able to resolve it? Did you have to set it down and come back and work it out later? Hopefully you did that. Did you find some parts easy? And wait, there's one more slide. I just want you to stay curious and use this project as a platform to spark some new ideas and creativity. I just want to show you these fun books I found. Many books use glues. Yours did not, and it made it easier to learn the basics. But you can see all the different possibilities that from this simple project that we use to here. So I just want to thank you again. Have fun with books. Again, embrace your success, and thank you for joining me. Have a great evening, day, week, month. Thank you.